So over the last few weeks, we've been exploring a particular kind of view about names. Really, since Frege, when we discussed sense and reference, we've been thinking about this Frege-Russell theory. And we've seen it in a number of different forms. So Frege had his own version of the theory with sense. We then saw Russell on descriptions, how that you could then sort of put descriptions to work as being the meanings of names. And we've seen that there are a lot of important arguments for this theory. But as I've mentioned a few times now, in fact, this theory is not the dominant theory of names nowadays. Most people do not accept what we call the Frege-Russell theory of names. And then this week and next week, we're going to see exactly why. So this week, we're going to see Kripke's response to the Frege-Russell theory. And then next week, we're going to think about Putnam, who has a reply to basically what you might think of as like the Frege-Russell theory, not for names, but for what we're going to call predicates. So in this lecture, what's going to happen is that we're first going to contrast the description theory, or the picture, as Kripke calls it, with a very different kind of picture about naming. A causal picture of naming. Now, this isn't the order in which Kripke does it in the text. Kripke spends a long time thinking about the description theory and laying it out, and only after he feels like he's basically disposed of the theory does he try to supply an alternative picture. But I think it's going to be helpful for you guys to see from the very beginning the contrast between the description theory, or the description picture, which Kripke is attacking, and his causal picture, which is the picture that he himself likes. So we're first going to contrast those two pictures. Then we're going to see how Kripke spells out the description theory. Because remember, as I said last time, there was some unclarity in exactly how to understand the description theory. Kripke tries to lay out a number of conditions that he thinks basically any version of the description theory will subscribe to. After that, he's then going to argue that there are basically counterexamples to all of the most important theses that form part of the description picture. And a lot of them involve this idea Kripke has, which is that in certain cases, it doesn't actually look like you need to know a lot. Maybe you don't even need to know anything about something in order to use a name for it. And it's exactly this kind of feature which is going to be problematic for the description theory. That's going to take a while. There are lots of different counterexamples, as you'll have seen. Once we've done that, we're going to just take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Why would these counterexamples give support to Kripke's picture? Maybe they're a problem for the description picture, but it's another thing, obviously, saying that they're an argument for Kripke's view, so we got to say why Kripke might think they're an argument for his view. And then we'll just take a step back and take stock and compare the different pros and cons of the various theories. Because remember, we saw a variety of different arguments for the Frege-Russell theory of names. And we've got to ask, well, how well does the causal picture stack up against those reasons?